Might have got my screen wet. A little bit of splashback. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Unorthodox Film Podcast. I am Bradford Clark, and I'm here with my co-host,
Joseph Sheldon Quick. Hello again.
Today we are coming together by ourselves. Quinn is
on set, I believe, or home resting between set.
And we have dragged out recording this particular episode so long that we don't have a guest. So we're going to get to it. Last time we had our friend Chris Warren on the show, and he had suggested to us that we do body horror. And that was after our discussion with him on heist movies.
Yeah, and we landed on Inception.
The recommendation
we recently viewed.
So today we will be talking about our fresh view of Inception, and then we will be going into our personal 10 recommendations for body horror based on our venture from that. So let's start with Inception, Joe. What did you think?
Written and directed by Christopher Nolan. Everybody knows Leo DiCaprio.
A huge cast. Tom Hardy. Lucas Haas for a quick minute.
Elliot Page.
Elliot Page
before the transition, but yes, Elliot Page.
Elliot Page and who else?
The great Michael Caine.
Oh, of course, Michael Caine
has a bit role.
And I didn't look it up. I meant to look it up while we were watching. Who plays his wife? Do you know who that is?
I don't.
Looking now.
She was in Dark Knight Rises.
Inception.
She was.
That was
Liam Neeson's daughter.
That's right. And that was Ken Watanabe playing Saito.
Yeah.
And of course Cillian Murphy. Marion Cotillard. Really? What else has she been in?
She's been in a lot, and she is amazing.
Yeah, she's beautiful too.
Beautiful, yeah.
And honestly, so this is kind of where I want to start the conversation with. So I didn't love that was the movie that we rolled out off the list. There were so many movies on that list that I think, but
there were stuff that I would rather have watched, sure, but I do love that movie. I'm a Christopher Nolan fan.
On this watch, I was like, okay, so let me really tune into it and put my biases aside and so forth, but really explore it. And one of the things I noticed is that the movie really doesn't have a protagonist at all. Because the deeper you get into the movie, the more you learn that Leonardo DiCaprio's character was more or less the antagonist.
Yeah.
It's his fucking fault all the way.
The whole thing, yeah.
So
he poisoned his wife's mind.
And that it endangered his crew, it endangered his work, it put him in his whole situation.
Everything in his life.
His whole situation was his fault. So with that kind of coming to fruition as I watched it, and asking myself, like, who really are we supposed to be rooting for? I kept landing on the wife. And even though she's already dead, there's really no additional arc or outcome from it. But I felt like she was the character that I would have wanted more screen time with because she was the victim in the whole thing. And even with
And you never really get her actual character. You get her as his projection of her.
Exactly. So, that...
she did an amazing job.
So it's a gorgeous film.
Yes.
Christopher Nolan makes gorgeous films.
He knows how to shoot.
The set designing was there.
The art department, hats off that fucking set design.
Right.
Everything was so goddamn beautiful. And all the special sets they had to make with the rotating
room, which was a larger...
The plane they outfitted for the zero-grav shit.
Yeah, that rotating hallway scene, the whole scene of Joseph Gordon-Levitt running through the hallway, in my memory was a smaller bit. Like that was
holds bar Hollywood budget.
That was like the last third of his role was rolling around that hallway.
Yeah.
But that was the other issue that I came to it with this. So first off, this is a movie you have to suspend all of your disbelief for. Like, you just have to accept.
And it can be hard to follow for some people. The first time I saw it, I loved it because it was so engaging, because the whole time you're learning about the realities that they're diving into.
Right.
So you really have to pay attention. So it kept me on the edge of my seat the first time. But at a second watch through, especially when you paid that much dedicated attention to the details, you start seeing the plot holes
right
that are there. And
I mean, there's all kinds of research online. People going into like, is it a dream? Is it not a dream because of the ending?
Yeah.
But to me, when you watch a movie, so this movie,
the kids hadn't aged. It's obviously he's still in a dream. Like he chose the dream.
So Michael Caine was told by Christopher Nolan when he got the role, because he had asked, and he said, the easiest thing I can say is every scene that you're in is real life. So Michael Caine was in the last scene. According to Christopher Nolan, that's the end all. And that's what I was going to get to. So
interesting.
That's a recent enough development in the last few years, because the movie came out in what year was that? I got to go back a couple pages here. 2010. So we're 13 years on, right? So that the legend has had time. But that's what I was going to get to. Is there's so much stuff online of people who have dissected the movie down to figure it all out. But in truth of it all, should you have to put that much work into something to be entertained? And that was the other question I asked myself: is am I being entertained? And it's got some, it's got some cool action sequences. It's got, the plot, because I knew the plot, this being a rewatch, I, like you said, started to really overanalyze or explore stuff. So for me, it came to the third act when, so there was the math of it, where at one level, time is moving this fast, and at another level you can get to...
For 5 minutes in the real time, you get an hour of dream time. But they were on a chemical that.
So this is what I'm saying. So they went right. So now
for 5 minutes, you get 20
we're
hours.
We're at this point where the van is about to go off, and so it's like in real time. Well, in the first level of the dream, there's only so much time. In the second level of the dream, they've got more time, and that's where Joseph Gordon-Levitt is. And then in the last level, where Cillian Murphy and the rest of the people are. Is supposed to be moving like exponentially slower.
Yes.
That being said, with the edit and the pacing of the third act, it was really hard for me to really grasp that. They would say several times, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, he's got 3 minutes, and then he's taking fucking forever to get up the stairs, down the stairs.
He's got 3 minutes, so that
clearly
gives us
taking 15 minutes.
That gives us 20 minutes,
right? Yeah. And then
he took way longer.
And then they're at the top of the hill, and you're moving. You're like, okay, in the amount of time that he's got they should be able. I mean, if we're talking 10 weeks, they were supposed to be in there.
And then the last half hour of the movie is at the top dream level is just the fan slowly falling,
but so much other stuff is happening.
That would have taken 15 seconds tops. I don't that bridge was not that high.
No,
I'm being generous, but they took a half hour. Well, at that level,
well, but reminding us many times. Okay, that gives Joseph Gordon-Levitt 3 minutes. And I'm like, wow, that
didn't add up. Even with the math they gave us, it doesn't.
So I think it's definitely a movie that will stand time. I don't think it's a rewatchable type of movie. It'll probably be a good 5 years plus before I even decide I want to revisit that as a watch on my own. But I think it's a movie that if you haven't seen it, you absolutely need to see it.
It is really good. Just the art department and lighting alone, the cinematography alone, all that. You know what I mean?
The dialogue. So the dialogue was another thing that caught up with me quite a bit. It realized that it was a movie that was going to go above people's heads. So the dialogue was almost like
every other.
I felt they were breaking the fourth wall. Because it was
they're giving you direct information.
The one person would deliver a line.
What's going on?
They would pause, and then Leonardo DiCaprio or one of his team would then look in the camera and be like, "Oh, so then." This is going to happen. You're like, oh, okay, well, now I'm fucking caught up. Instead of things actually playing out, Nolan knew he had to.
Perfect example of this. They're in the first class thing in the plane.
Yeah, right.
And they finally go to sleep, and it's raining, and they make a joke about, couldn't he use the restroom before? And he goes, well, we know he'll be looking for a taxi in this weather. Okay, so now we know it's going. Why is it raining? Because he didn't pee.
Right.
But now we know how to find who we're looking for, because he'll be looking for a taxi because it's raining. That's the scene I thought about when you. So
the scene that I thought about was when they went to the chemist, and he was like, explaining how deep. He's like, oh, I get it, and blah 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 blah, and he sets up something and he pauses, and I think it was when Leonardo DiCaprio was like, "You'll never wake up," or something like. But they were always dramatic period points. Yeah, the dialogue. Sure. There was a lot of the tension build because the music.
The dream becomes your reality.
Right. Who is this? Is this a James Horner? I don't remember who does all Nolan's music. Let's see, composer. Oh, Zimmer. So the first thing when the music came on, I joked like, oh, did you put Batman on by accident?
Yeah.
Because there's this similarity to Zimmer's score that.
Same swell, different notes.
I couldn't be able to hum anything to you, and I was listening to the music. But yeah, it was basically the music was the hand holding of this is how I'm supposed to feel. If you were to eliminate all the music from the movie. I can't say that you. It was shot and edited very well, so I can't say that you wouldn't feel the tension. But at the same time, if you struck the music from
technically speaking, the movie's flawless.
It holds your hands. It holds your hands. The music a little bit.
Every shot was gorgeous. So
so the music didn't like ring with me as something that was phenomenal, but it was like status quo.
Yeah.
And
it was a necessary character. It played its part. Music's very important in film, but yeah.
I didn't hear a theme. I didn't hear, and it could have been there. But I think about original. Forgetting Sarah Marshall. It was just ominous tones.
It was what it needed to
swelling
be. Swelling
plain
and simple.
Yeah. So
now, can we talk about real quick the scene in I think Marrakesh or wherever the fuck they're at, where he's running through that alley, and the other guys, the bad guys who are much more swole, have no problem running right through there behind him, and he just refuses to turn sideways and squeezes through
to get through that hallway. And then even the angles that we had seen on him, you could see he was like quarter turned. Yeah. And you're like, man, if you just straighten your shoulders out, you'll fit right through there. Yeah. You'll get right in there, buddy.
Turn your shoulders and your hips and just give it the shimmy. Give it the old. Left, right.
The set pieces were great though, because that whole chase scene was pretty cool. I don't know if it was supposed to be the human nature of it, but there were some things where I was like, come on, really? That same scene when he goes and he's obviously a fish out of water in the cafe, and he's like, cafe, ordering coffee. And the guy's just making a ruckus. It's like, man, get 10 seconds out.
Yeah.
You're trained?
This isn't going to work.
You let the whole quarter-mile lead that you had on everybody lost, arguing with the guy. You could have just kept running.
Yeah, he'd have been gone. Yeah. And
I did feel that a couple of times throughout the movie where I felt like Leonardo DiCaprio's character, the end when they're supposed to go find Cillian Murphy's character and he gets lost again with the wife, and it was like, come on, man, you're the leader. You can't break yourself of this with your ingenue right there trying to wake you up and say, dude, we got to go. And they slowly walk through the city. He tells the story of how they created it. There was no hustle, nothing. And this is what I was talking about with the time thing. Because we have
more time when we're...
But the 15-second van falling, you keep seeing splashing. You see Joseph Gordon-Levitt like hustling his ass to try and figure out the situation with the kickback. And here's Leo just taking a memory lane stroll, forgetting the whole...
We did grow old together.
We built 3 houses, this, that, whatever. And like, come on, man.
And the whole movie is about him getting over his dead wife.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Which, I can appreciate. I can't say that isn't important, but
it's not exactly, I don't know.
And that's what I mean. Like, it's an exciting movie, but when you break it down to actually what you watched, it can be a bit frustrating. It's a little disappointing.
Yeah. I love the movie. But again, the first time you watch it, you're blown away at the beauty of the shots.
Yes.
And the set design.
And some movies are like that. Some movies have like one shot at awing you.
Tell they're in rooms that are on fucking pistons because the whole glasses start shifting. The whole thing's
making
moving.
of this film is, undoubtedly something that
the artistry
any film student should want to look into.
Is just Oof.
I don't remember where I saw the behind-the-scenes stuff because I didn't have the Blu-ray or DVD. I didn't love the movie that much.
I did.
Okay, so we must have watched it on that.
Yeah, either that or
somewhere.
I'm sure
on
some
YouTube.
of those master classes you've taken, or
nothing by Nolan. But yeah, somewhere I came across it. So they're out there. I would recommend finding it. So Anything else you want to dwell on with Inception?
I mean, not really.
What did you? So I did notice
huge Joseph Gordon-Levitt fan, so it was nice to see him do some action.
Yes, yeah. I think there's not enough.
He did an amazing job.
Of that. Yeah, and honestly, the whole cast was amazing. I think that Cillian Murphy's role was so underwhelming in size that he doesn't have a whole lot of time. But the time that he had,
great.
Yeah, the time that he had was done really well.
Yeah, and I always enjoy him. He's
there wasn't an actor on the screen that I wouldn't have wanted to watch, because like I can't read. I was thinking about that as well. Like, who would I recast?
First architect,
Lucas Haas.
No, I love him.
You are not about to put a hate on Lucas Haas.
No, I'm not going to put hate on him, but like he did great in the role, but like
anybody else could have subbed in. Yeah,
there wasn't anything that really stood
that he offered.
Out. Yeah,
right. It could have been anybody.
Yeah,
I think a more outstanding performance was the young boy on the train. His little casual when Saito
when
woke
he looked up. Yeah,
he's just,
I love that part. Yeah,
like what? He didn't even want to say anything.
Yep.
I look forward to everything that Nolan makes. And even though this isn't something that I like, Prestige, even though Prestige has a lot of secrets and things to it, it hasn't lost any value to me as far as rewatchability. I'll watch that one again.
Over and over and over.
But this one seems to be a bit more on the, I'll revisit it in
it's just so grandiose. Years. It's like Nolan's Michael Bay-esque movie, right?
Yeah.
Like there's explosions for the sake of explosion, kind of. You know what I mean? They're explained, sure, but like a whole fortress being blown up. Like
I am looking forward to seeing
shot.
Oppenheimer.
Beautiful.
I haven't seen Oppenheimer yet.
I haven't either. No,
that should be coming to streaming relatively soon. So
definitely
it's like a 3-hour long movie. So trying to get someone to go to the theater with me.
I'm sure it'll come back to IMAX somewhere.
Maybe
I'll go see it. And it will, dude.
Maybe, but until we watch that, I guess
they still air Titanic.
Oh, no. I mean, it'll definitely come back. And with Oscar season coming around, it'll probably do a little. I'm not saying it won't, but, if it does, I'll maybe
I would like
see
to see it on
I would. So if it comes back, you'd like to go? Mm-hmm. All right, we'll go. So let's move on from this. Body horror. Body horror.
I guess I'll start. No, you go ahead. You go ahead. And
but before we do, let's talk a little. Let's talk a little bit about this. So, Chris had suggested that we do body horror.
Chris Warren.
Are you a body horror watcher? What did you find when you looked into?
I am.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah, I think mine are my choices here that I have are about half and half between mainstream.
So let me rephrase the question.
There's more mainstream.
Did you realize you had watched body horror movies? So you knew that. So because that was the opposite for me.
I wouldn't have called them that before.
That's what I'm asking. I'm asking. Yeah. So when he pitched that out, I was like, man, I don't think I've ever watched it. He had recommended some titles to me previously before coming on the cast with us, and
hold for a second. Hold. Excuse me.
And he had suggested some body horror for me, and I was like, oh, okay. And I watched one. I didn't really care for it, and so from that, and that being like the leading example that he gave me to watch, I was like, this, just subgenre.
What movie was it?
The Void.
The Void.
The Void.
I don't think I've seen that.
Okay, and. Watch it, I guess. I'm not going to say I recommend it. We'll see if it ends up on my recommendations, but I doubt it. Because that, like I said, it gave me the impression that maybe body horror wasn't for me. So I did some exploring. Yeah. I went to Reddit. I asked around. I was like, hey, so, what is it? Google didn't really, because there was some lines. The conversation that he had with us said that, and I guess that's what we should clarify. Modifications to the body, but things like zombies don't count. Right?
No, so totally.
Like Saw didn't count, right? Because that's just hacking off and that was an attack.
And this is where I totally realized, like, I watch these like crazy, and my list will express that. Like, and they're popular movies that did really well that people don't even realize. Like, because you don't put body horror on the... It's searchable.
So this was something else that...
I think it's a more modern take on it. Like,
I
it's
found
a subgenre.
that I went in with poor expectations, with high expectations, because what I learned with a lot of the movies that were listed as like the highlights, the 10 musts or this, that, whatever, like the ones that body horror fans speak of a lot. When I previewed some of those, I realized that like the body horror aspect might be like 10% of the film. You know, most of the film is not necessarily about it, but like visually speaking, it's not on screen the whole time.
Sure.
And that's what made it difficult for me to realize what I had seen, that would qualify.
Okay. Do you want to get into it?
I think I'm ready to get into it. So today, because it is just you and me, we are each going to make 5 recommendations for 10 total, because I have this 10-sided die here that we'll be able to roll later and kind of pick out what movie of our suggestions, of our recommendations, that we will preview for next episode and give a fresh look at. So let me ask you this before we get really into our recommendations here, Joe. How many of these did you rewatch or watch for the first time coming into this episode?
None.
Okay. Excellent. I actually did, because I was so uncertain, but my list is a mix of ones that I'd seen for the first time.
I'm also like, I'm so familiar with these movies because they're mostly cult classics.
A lot of them are. Okay, so
I've owned them, almost all of them, on DVD or VHS or something.
So I'm going to start with one that. Do you remember what our penultimate one was that we made a suggestion for? Because I feel I
think we used The Void, because that was Chris's suggestion for, like, that's our penultimate that we can't use, right? So.
And even if it's not, because there's one that I might use that could have been, but But regardless, we're moving on from that.
You're trying to just take stuff off your list now. That's what you're doing.
No, this isn't really. I highlighted something. I hate when I highlight, so I was clicking it just to unhighlight. So my first recommendation, I'm going to start with this one because I'm very confident in it. I wasn't sure if it would even qualify at first, but it's on some people's recommendations. It's on others, and then others say no. So I'm just going to go with it because I think there's body horror in it, and that's Evil Dead 2. Evil Dead 2, you have Henrietta in the basement.
Okay, those, I guess it's not technically zombies.
It's not zombies.
It's like demon possession, though, right? So, I mean, I'll allow it. I definitely, because Evil Dead, I'm a huge fan of.
Well, and that's why
franchise.
I didn't say Evil Dead 1. So specifically Evil Dead 2. So there's a movie, and I don't know if you've seen it, but there was one movie that a lot of people had suggested. I'd never seen it, and I just didn't get around to watching it to add it to the list, because that just kind of felt weird to me to recommend something like that. But it was Tetsuo, which is, I think it's only like an hour long. It's Japanese, but the guy self-modifies himself. And I was like, well, if that qualifies, then does cutting off your own hand to remove possession and then modify your body with a chainsaw qualify as body horror? And I said yes. What do you think about that?
Excuse me. I think it counts.
That checks out, right?
Yeah, he's doing body modifications, right?
He did. And fuck some shit up.
The qualifier.
So Evil Dead 2. Evil Dead 2 is probably one of the movies that really got me into being a cinephile. Evil Dead 2 is Sam Raimi's second attempt at this Evil Dead series. I personally don't see it as a sequel. I see it more as like a rebirth, because it steals very closely the same plot line with Ashley and him going out to a cabin with some friends or with a girlfriend. There's small differences between the two. And then, the chaos and the possessions and so forth comes from there. But what I love about Evil Dead 2 is that while Evil Dead 1 is probably more of a horror.
The chick getting raped by nature.
That's one, right? But in 2, Raimi leans more into like the comical, but then the over-the-top absurd. I don't know if he had a much bigger budget, but he obviously had a more go at it this time to be able to fill the house with blood. But the singular performance that Bruce Campbell gives throughout most of the movie, because he's by himself, is fascinating to me. And to be able to not only convey the horror that he's going through, but to also allow me to laugh, and singularly or similarly, I don't want to say terrified. The movie's not terrifying to me. I can see, but it evokes a lot of that horrific emotion.
Yeah, and I've watched it with people that were got horrified, couldn't finish.
It's over the top bloody. Like I said, the Henrietta in the basement, his girlfriend, waking up. Is it the second one where she dances the ballet, or is that the first one?
I think it's the second one.
Yeah, because he lops her head off, right? Yeah, because it is just in the second one. It's just he and her. There's no friends. Was it just he and her in the second one?
I've watched so many versions.
I know, they blend.
And there's so many editions. Like, there's anniversary releases. There's all these,
The plot didn't change that much.
No, it didn't, right. They're all so similar. There's just extra footage here and there.
Right.
I mean, just all great, for that time era. Just groundbreaking stuff,
What are your thoughts on Evil Dead 2?
I love it. I love that movie. I love all the Evil Deads. I always have. I saw the first one on Betamax in my uncle's basement when I was 12 years old, and I've been a horror fanatic ever since. That's what got me into heavier music, and then I eventually found punk rock, and never turned back from that shit. Obviously, yeah,
that's running with you.
Evil Dead's part of my life. It's in my blood.
What do you got for us?
So okay, I got a lot. I got quite a few here, but I'm wondering which one to start with. But since you started with Evil Dead, I want to go old school, and we're gonna take it to House of Wax, 1953, Vincent Price.
Okay.
Okay, now there was a remake, obviously.
Right. I've heard good things about it, but I stay away from it because of Paris.
And yeah, that was 2005, right? But this was, the wax sculptor Henry Vincent Price is horrified to learn that his business partner plans on torching their wax museum to collect an insurance policy. He miraculously survives a fiery confrontation and reemerges some years later with a museum of his own, but when the appearance of Henry's new wax sculptures occurs at the same time that a number of corpses vanish from the city morgue,
So he was saying, I've never seen this.
So he is doing a weird wax treatment on dead bodies and creating a gallery. Like a whole, it winds up being a whole town.
So his whole gallery is full of corpses.
Yeah,
interesting.
He builds a whole town of dead bodies covered in wax.
A whole town.
Yeah,
that's wild. So where's the
and in the remake they stumble upon this town like it's been going on for generations. So it's like a continuation. So the remake is more, not a remake. It was interesting. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Vincent Price is obviously someone I need to watch more of and have loved much of the stuff. But interesting. Yeah, I never really knew much about the movie. So, I mean, the corpses don't come to life or anything. They're just there.
No, but he's modifying them.
No, I'm not questioning. I'm not questioning the validity.
I'm counts.
No, I think so. That's.
I mean, definitely in the remake. Because they kind of show the process, and
I would assume that taxidermy is body modification.
Right.
So why would this? Yeah. Right. So I'm not questioning the validity of the suggestion. I'm more intrigued of the story. Like, where's the other than the horrific idea of someone stealing corpses? Is he killing the people to take them, or is it once the bodies are dead he steals? And
I think he was stealing them from the morgue, but eventually people start finding out, and he starts using them.
Okay. Because I'm trying to
he's got to keep his secret.
Interesting. Well, I'll have to check that out.
I'm sure.
I don't want to ask too many more questions.
It takes a lot less wax with a body underneath. So maybe it was a financial thing. I don't know if there's a wax shortage in the 50s because of the war.
Yeah, say no more. Say no more. I do want to see this. You gotta watch it. I do want to see this.
It's a classic. Golden era.
I don't have anything to say about it because I've not seen it. Is there anything else you want to add?
I mean, everybody's got Google.
No, I don't mean that. Just if there's anything else you wanted to add.
It's Vincent Price, Charles Bronson, Carolyn Jones, Phyllis Kirk, Frank Lovejoy. Like, it's a star-studded cast.
Yeah, it's just a lot of people.
Dabbs Greer, Reggie. Like, some of these people were probably nothing then, but they all went on to be like Paul Kavanaugh, Oliver Blake. Yeah, there's just Rory Roberts.
You're just naming names now. I don't know who these people are.
Yeah, they're right here.
Thank you.
Wonderful actors.
I was just asking if you had any opinions that you wanted to add.
I think the remake is probably more stomachable for a lot of people because it's just more modern viewership. You know what I mean? They're both really well done. Paris Hilton is awful, obviously. Like, she can't act for shit, but she dies early on, I'm pretty sure. And the other actors are pretty good, kind of. But it's not the Vincent Price. You know what I mean? It's not Vincent Price and fucking Charles Bronson. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Chucky Bronson.
Get off it.
That's crazy. Okay, so the next one that I'm going to recommend was a new one to me. I didn't know much about it. It was released in 2014, and it was around a time that like a lot of movies were coming out with actors, and they weren't going to theaters, or they were going to theaters, but so much stuff was going on, blah 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 blah. And I was just like, maybe that one's not worth seeing. And
sure.
I came across this one honestly on accident around the same time that I was looking for body horror stuff, and I watched the movie, and at the end of the movie I was like, holy shit, this is body horror. So I didn't go into it thinking I was watching a body horror movie,
right on, yeah.
but was brought to it afterwards, and that was with Scarlett Johansson, and it's a movie called Lucy.
I love that
Lucy?
movie.
So
about 18 times. First time I saw it, I happened upon it with my wife. We were just, I think we found it for rental or something somewhere, like a DVD.
It was an under the radar. You know, I mean, it could have been released in some theaters.
Redbox, and we almost never went to Redbox.
Right.
Like, it was something that, and we just, I fucking loved it.
I saw it on HBO Max.
She did another one around that time.
That was
Under the Skin.
Right.
So good.
And I heard
creepy.
So this
as fuck.
This is where I'm talking. No, this is what I'm talking about, because there was so much similarity.
They're both body horror, like, in different ways, completely different.
They are. So a little bit about Lucy. So it's been some months since I've seen it. So I'm gonna read the quick little quib on IMDb. It says a woman accidentally caught in a dark deal turns the tables on her captors and transforms into a merciless warrior evolved beyond human logic. And I don't know. It's John Wick-ish, but it's more like it's not about the fighting. It's. So first off, she gets. I don't remember the exact plot. Somehow she has something.
It's about enlightenment and like knowledge.
She ingests something on accident.
A drug, a drug that they extract from like it's some craziness, like newborn babies. I don't know, some kind of, it was
for science, right?
And some shit that comes out of a womb. I don't know, it's fucking
nuts. It eventually
nuts.
bleeds into her body, and it then starts to mutate her, right? So her body starts to advance, and she becomes to evolve.
She inadvertently becomes a mule. They put a kilo of this shit in her stomach.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
And they ship her over, and somebody kicks her in her gut, and it breaks and leaks into her system, and she just becomes fucking invincible. And just keeps elevating,
right?
Like leveling up.
Yes.
It's evolving. She calls it evolving. Like, but eventually we turn into energy, which is nothing. And once you know everything, you're everywhere and everything all at once.
And
like,
it was a wild fucking ride.
Fucking blew my mind because the science behind it, dude. Like the holes we were talking about that Inception had in its own plot lines. This one was talking about like actual like fucking Carl Sagan shit.
Yeah.
You know, Neil deGrasse Tyson shit.
So that was one of the things that I got away from it.
Real theory of existence.
Truth of the matter is, a normal person can't write the truth of what the story was trying to say, right? Because that's just an oxymoron.
Right.
But the attempt is that we don't understand like our possibilities and how we're limiting ourselves.
And it was done so beautifully and articulately.
I agree. So that's my next recommendation here. Am I coming in too hot? I keep turning myself down, but
maybe you should stop touching my board, motherfucker. He's got himself on negative 19 decibels,
and I'm still fucking popping.
Well, stop swallowing your mic like a cold.
I'm resetting myself here.
Yeah, motherfucker.
Okay, Joe. So when you finish setting me up there,
I think you're good.
What do you want to talk about?
You got to keep talking for me to set this shit up.
Oh, how now, brown cow? How now, brown cow?
All right, there you go. Okay, so my next one would be. Oh, no, which list? Okay, I'm just gonna pick one. So, the late great Sir Robin Williams, in the year of 2004, did a sci-fi thriller, which is actually had some body horror in it, called Final Cut. And these people would modify themselves with tattoos and like other like magnetic and anti-frequency like implants because their parents, when they were in utero, installed a Zoe drive in their brain, which records through their eyes their entire life to be edited for their funeral.
They put it at birth for the sole purpose of having a reel at your funeral?
In the future, microchips in people's heads record their experiences. Robin Williams plays Alan Hankman, a cutter who edits footage from immoral dead people into pleasing narratives.
Interesting. This
fueled
is fascinating.
By his troubled childhood memories. And cutters cannot have the Zoe implant, but we find out that he had one all along.
Well, I mean, how do you know at birth that you're going to be a cutter?
Well, his parents.
I haven't seen the movie. I haven't seen the movie. So
his parents die when he's young.
In the hopes that this is one that we get to roll.
He was never, dude. It was so good. I love this movie. Oh, and it's Robin Williams. Mira Sorvino is the love interest.
Okay,
it's so good, dude.
All right, we were just talking about her, so that's somebody that I need to see more of. Yeah. Unfortunately, I have not seen this, so I can't. I'm aware of it.
Who else is in it?
What year did you say it was? 2003?
2004.
2004. So that was somewhere around the time he did 1 Hour Photo as well, right?
Yeah, this was his drama era.
Yeah.
And he pumped out some really good shit. And this was one of those obscure ones. Like, I found this in the $5 bin at
That's where I'd always see it.
Something.
Yeah, or at 7-Eleven.
Walmart. Yeah.
In that weird, up top bin.
But it's
candy.
so good. Like, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, some good people. Brendan Fletcher's in
Who directed it?
Directed by, let's see. Where is it? Omar Naim.
Not familiar. Click on him.
Naim.
Anything else he's done that we've seen? Has he gone on to do anything?
No, he's weird looking.
Interesting.
Got 5 head. Let's see. Becoming, Route 10, Dead Awake.
No.
When Simon Sleeps. Nothing.
Oh, nothing rings through there. Okay. And anything else you want to add before we move on?
It's a good movie.
Yeah,
watch it.
I want to see
Final Cut.
Right. So
The Final Cut. Sorry, The Final Cut. Because Final Cut is a different movie, apparently.
So I am going to go with...
Holy crap. It's a drama thriller with Jude Law.
All right, I know what I'm going to go with here. I've got a couple here. A lot of these other ones, with the exception of few, were new watches for me, including this one I'm about to mention, which I believe was Stuart Gordon. Let me double check that real quick. He was Stuart Gordon. Let's see here. Yep, Stuart Gordon. So this is a Lovecraft-based tale. This one is from 1986, a movie called From Beyond. From Beyond is similar to a lot of the 80s weird science stuff that involves a mad scientist and a student, and this also involves a journalist.
I've scrolled by that on some.
So I highly recommend it. It's
it is intriguing.
It's 80s-erific. I mean, it's the lighting is full of colors and so forth. So basically, it comes down to a scientist who is his experiment touches into other planes, and when he turns it on, I think he's trying to strengthen himself. He tries to strengthen himself, but he becomes this like egregious creature, and most of the movie takes place.
Excuse me.
Either in his lab, or I think if I remember correctly, there's a psychology lab, because the lead character, his student, his ingenue, thinks he's crazy. Like something happened in the beginning. He ends up in therapy, and this journalist comes to him, and then together they go back. But it's a wild ride.
I'm gonna have to watch it.
But this is one of those movies where I was watching it and getting through most of it, and I'm like, well, where's the body horror? Where's the body horror? And then the movie, at the third act, it just becomes this, this crazy, creature effects and
sure.
So this was the movie where it clicked in with me, like, okay, I mean, if this is one of the ones that people are talking about and this is how it goes, this must be what is acceptable in the subgenre. But yeah, highly recommend it. It was it's got Jeffrey Combs.
Nice.
So super young Jeffrey Combs. It's got everything you'd expect out of an 80s horror. So the weird electronic music, the rotoscoping for all the electricity, and it's just all of it. And it's a really tight story. I think it only runs like 86 minutes or something like that. So it's easy. You bringing it out? Yep, hour and 25. But From Beyond, Stuart Gordon, I believe written and directed. Let me get that right. No. Brian Usna and Dennis Paoli. No, there was none of that. Put that away. It comes out later. So that's what I'm going with.
Sorry.
You going to get it together?
Yeah, I'm fine. It's fun. Shut up.
From Beyond. So after put your toy away, why don't you give us your...
Okay, so I'm going to go with Tusk. Kevin Smith, Justin Long. It was so good. 2014 dark comedy.
That's with the kid who sees dead people too, isn't it?
The kid who sees dead people?
Yeah, who gets...
Oh, yeah. What the fuck is his name? Haley Joel Osment.
Osment, yep.
Yeah. Also Lily Rose Depp, Johnny Depp's daughter. Johnny Depp's also in it. And Michael Parks.
Love Michael Parks.
He plays the creepy old guy, and he is He is Vincent Price creepy. Like, he is great in this fucking movie. There's also Harley Quinn Smith, Kevin Smith's daughter.
Forget the cast. Tell me about Tusk.
Tusk is a 2014
I don't know. I know it. Tell me about the fucking movie. Put your fucking phone down and talk to us, man.
Okay, so I mean, it's a good movie. It's about a podcaster, like journalist guy, Haley Joel Osment and Justin Long, are two guys like us, right?
Yeah,
but
right.
Justin Long's kind of a fucking douchebag,
as he tends to be,
and he is going around trying to find these stories, and he winds up chasing the wrong lead, right? So like he's on some lead, and he sees like an advert on a fucking pinboard of some story, and he chases this lead, and he winds up running into this guy who's got some interesting stories, but he winds up drugged, and he wakes up with his fucking legs amputated, and he's in this like bound to this wheelchair, and
it was
and then in Act 3, like almost every body horror,
right?
He gets turned into a walrus,
which is just only from the mind of Kevin Smith.
Yeah, so like this guy makes a walrus suit out of human parts and then shoves people in it till they die, and keeps making them, because he winds up like jumping in to swim in his water and sees like carcasses of other ones rotting down there.
That's wild. I'll have to get that one another watch. I've only seen it once. I remember not necessarily enjoying it, but I don't think I was prepared for it. So
I'm sure, yeah, it comes out of left field in that third act. You're just like, what the fuck? He's a walrus now.
Like, I mean, from the title, I kind of guessed that's what was coming. I think there was probably just something missing from the story.
It's awful. Like, even though he's a kind of a piece of shit, you still are like, but nobody deserves that.
Yeah.
And who were these other people?
Right.
Basically all journalists, I think. Like somebody trying to tell a story, and this guy found them to be scum or so. I don't know. He's fucking insane. This guy's insane.
That is just wild to me.
It's just insane. Like,
yeah,
the character's beautiful though.
I'm interested in giving that one another go, especially because I love Kevin Smith and I'd like to see something more than I saw in it because I did write it off the first time and I was like,
so different for him. And dude, Johnny Depp in that is just.
I don't remember Johnny Depp in it
because he's covered in prosthetics. He's the French detective.
Interesting.
That's like always eating and smoking.
Of course he is. That's the Johnny Depp way. His character's like Brad Pitt. He's
fucking ridiculous and hilarious in that.
Yeah, I mean, when did that movie come out? Because it's been a long
2014.
time since you did say that. Oh, that's. Oh yeah, okay, that's about right.
It's been a while.
Yeah, that sounds about right. All right, let me see.
And Johnny Depp and Kevin Smith's daughters were actually really, really funny in it.
Was that the first time they were in some? I didn't see the other one they were in.
I think it was at least one of them's acting debut. It could have been both of them. It was 2014. They were young. They played the clerks at the local,
I do remember that scene. Yeah, I do remember that
they're in
scene.
several scenes because they see Justin Long's character. They talk to the detective.
Right.
Yeah.
I do remember them now, though. That is funny.
And yeah, they're hilarious. I mean, they're just playing teenage girls, but it's fucking funny.
Well, yeah, I mean, your character doesn't have to be so unrealistic or outrageous for it to be a worthwhile addition to any story.
It was. They fit where they needed to be, and they needed to be there.
All right. Anything else that you want to add about Tusk?
It was great storytelling. Like when it comes to like Act 2, when it got to it was amazing the way this guy played this.
You know what? When I ask you that, you can always say no if you don't have anything else.
No,
I don't want to step on you.
No, go ahead. Yeah, I'm good. But the way he played this psycho was just. It was amazingly. The performance was amazing.
Michael Parks is somebody that I would have loved the opportunity to be able to work with.
Yeah.
He's a character actor in my opinion. Everything I've seen him in was character based.
Yeah.
Mostly Quentin Tarantino stuff, right?
Right. So you can imagine how he immersed into this character and brought it to life, and it's a character unlike anything he's ever played. It's not the sheriff that Quentin Tarantino always makes him, or Robert Rodriguez makes him. But he was just as amazing, and he just honestly, if you enjoy him as an actor, you have to see this movie. And
I have seen it. To be clear, I've seen it.
He's astonishing.
Once, so it deserves a rewatch for me. I am going to recommend for my next pick Eli Roth's first feature, Cabin Fever.
Cabin Fever. Okay.
And I sat on this for a minute. It came to me, and I was like, "Holy shit! Wait a minute!" Because I was
alien butt cocoons. Okay. Yeah.
Well, it's a sickness, right? Alien butt cocoons. But the body horror comes once they consume the filth that is in the water, right? And their bodies start to deteriorate, and it's disgusting. It's got for me, one of the standout scenes is when
that's like a creature comes out of his ass though.
In Cabin Fever.
Yeah, am I thinking of something else?
You must be thinking of something else. Cabin Fever is about a group of young.
Yeah, with that red, mossy, bloody shit that grows out of him.
Nothing grows out. Let me tell you the tale of what Cabin Fever is. Cabin Fever is a group of youths, late teens or 20 somethings, and they go away for a weekend. And while they're gone, there is a presence in, I think it's either like I don't know if they ever really say if it's a chemical or if it's a bug or whatever. Something's in the water, and the consumption of it makes them very ill, and their bodies start to deteriorate. One of the scenes that stands out to me that was incredibly gruesome and fascinating to me when I first saw it was when they all start to feel ill, and I guess she's supposed to be like the quintessential hottie. I don't remember who played her, but she and her boyfriend are having a tiff, and she goes and she gets in the tub. She goes to shave her legs, just simple shaving of the legs. And as she shaves her leg, just rips all the skin off of the front of her calf and or her shin there. And it was gruesome. But you got Jordan Ladd, you have I forget James DeBello from Detroit Rock City. Yeah, his character is brilliant. It was pretty good. Him and her boyfriend, the hottie, make a bet that through the weekend they would only drink beer, right? And that was clever because he never drank the water then, and so that kind of
that saved him.
Ultimately. Yeah, and so he kind of goes into but it's something you don't see a whole lot of in horror. The unseen predator. It's not something coming after them. It's not something crawling them down. It's not anything they can run from.
No, it's an infection that makes them like decay.
But at the same time, while it's physically decaying them, they start to crumble as a group as well. And I think that's really where the movie shines. Because it's not just about the gore.
Gets sick, gets isolated in a shed, and winds up getting eaten by
Lords of the Fly. Lords
of
the Fly starts to happen. People segregate who's right, who's wrong, who's in charge, what's the right thing to do.
So I was confusing it with was it Dreamcatcher?
Oh, fuck Dreamcatcher. Duddits.
No. Where's the thing with alien comes out of the butt in the cabin?
I don't know. I
can't remember. But that's what I was confusing with. Because there's a scene on the toilet that's similar to the one in there. But in this one, a creature comes out.
Oh, okay, no.
Some alien.
No. I would be very interested in recalling what that is, but no.
But that would be a body horror, too. I can't remember what. I'm sure it'll come to me. Probably when we're done rolling.
Yeah, possibly.
Anyways, I owned a Cabin Fever at one point, and my favorite part of it was in the special features because Eli Roth had a claymation thing called the Rotten Fruit.
Rotten Fruit. Which I didn't love. I tried watching those, and I didn't love them.
Most awful band in the world.
I love stop motion, though. Do you have anything else to add about Cabin Fever?
Nope, that was it. I thought that was a good closer.
I do think so. I like when you sing. Okay, so we have 3 more picks remaining. 2 of them are from you, and I have 1 more.
2 more. Okay.
Do you want to take a break now, or do you want to take a break after you make your recommendation here at our 8th pick?
I mean, we could probably finish out and take a break and just do the next show.
We got a lot more to go with this one still, so it's up to you.
Yeah, we can take a break now.
All right. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back in just a moment. I got my shit wet again.
How do you do it with such lackluster and still manage to get your screen wet?
I have... Bro, you've known me long enough by now. You should know I'm a klutz at literally everything I do.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is exactly why my wife and I are on road trips and we play the weird, like when you see a weird exit sign name, you try to give it like a sexual orientation or...
What's that got to do with my klutziness?
Because we passed Blandford, Connecticut.
Oh, Christ.
And we were like, that's a sad hand job. But...
Shameful.
Blandford.
I was just going to give the example that I almost twisted, or did twist my ankle coming down, just setting up for tonight. But no, you got to go to Blandford. Right off at exit 60, no way. All right, so we've taken our break. We are back. talking about body horror. I'm going to give us a quick rundown of the recommendations we've made so far. I started us out, and I recommended Evil Dead 2. Joe gave us House of Wax. I recommended Lucy. Joe mentioned the Robin Williams Final Cut. I then added From Beyond. Joe gave us Tusk, and then I mentioned Cabin Fever. So that brings us up to 7 of our 10 recommendations for this episode. So Joe, you have our 8th recommendation for body horror.
Yeah.
What do you got?
I mean, there's so many good choices, and like, I don't know, I'm gonna hate myself for not bringing up some of them, but I also think we're gonna do the honorable mentions. I only have 2 more.
Do you have, have you mentioned a favorite already? Are there ones that you haven't mentioned that you're especially close to?
Yeah. There are. There are. So, man, I guess those gotta be the 2, and the rest can be honorable mentions. Yeah, that's going to be okay. So we're going to go with The Cell, a movie from 2000, thriller sci-fi. Vince Vaughn, Jennifer Lopez, or J-Lo from the block, as they call her. Yeah. So
what fucking J-Lo from the block? Did you mention D'Onofrio?
Vincent D'Onofrio plays an auspicious bad guy, just so amazing. It's just, yeah. So the body horror is pretty prevalent through the whole movie, right? Like he's into suspension.
Okay.
And he kidnaps and tortures women, and he bleaches them to look like dolls.
Oh.
And then fornicates with their dead bodies as he's hovering, like strapped to chains.
Over the top of them.
Over the top of them, yeah.
I saw this one way back in college, and I only saw it the one time, so I literally don't remember much about it.
It's so good.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't have an answer to why. I don't think I avoided it. I don't think I had any real memory of my time watching it, so there wasn't that, I need to go see it again. Like, it was just a movie I saw.
It was 23 years ago. You know what I mean? It was 2000, but yeah. Like, I fell in love with it right away.
Okay.
Like, it was definitely, like,
I remember
obviously
it being
it was
a
wide
masterpiece.
release. Yes,
like, visually it was just...
Like, so that's the whole allure of it, right? So Jennifer Lopez plays a psychiatrist, right? But with this new technology, she can go in to the mind of her patient.
Okay.
Or they can come into her mind, right?
She invites them in?
Yes, so that she can control the environment, right? So it's like a dream world.
Like Inception.
It is actually quite like Inception in a way. Like, you can build it yourself. You have all these things. You're the architect of your own reality. So in that way, it's similar. But Vincent D'Onofrio is such a sicko.
Yeah,
and he's got all these alter egos in his head, and they're just like, one of them's a bodybuilding woman with no nipples.
Interesting.
It's creepy as shit, but it's beautiful imagery and the artistry. Like, some of the sets they built are just
so
wow.
Vincent D'Onofrio is an actor who I love now, but back when I saw the movie, I didn't know him by a name. You know, I'd seen him in Men in Black. I definitely saw him in Full Metal Jacket by that point.
Yeah.
You know, I'd seen him around, but I didn't associate a name with a face. So he was just another actor at the time I saw that.
Sure.
Knowing what I know now about his performances, I very much would like to go back and visit what you're describing as that role. Because that's, how many personalities? It wasn't just like 2 or 3. He did several roles.
There's the severe alter ego. There's him vulnerable. And there's other... Yeah, it's even as the character itself, there are so many different looks that he wears. Like, he envisions himself as this god, right? So there's all these things that he does, like, in every different room or realm of the mind, he's dressed in some different way. Like, at one point, he's like all chalky and white and cracking, but he's got these weird horns. Another time he is sitting on a throne and he has this elaborate purple cape. Like, it's just, the visuals are so stunning.
I remember there being
Such
a lot of
beautiful
colors.
marriage of like early 2000s. Obviously, it was 2000. Like the CG, but it's married to the film so well. Like it stands the test of time. You can't really. It's gorgeous.
Am I remember correctly that there's a lot of a lot of colorful palette throughout? It doesn't stay like
colorful.
single tone.
Yeah.
It's got very
like there's always like one or two colors that really jump out at you, and the rest is all muted.
Okay.
You know, it's just gorgeous cinematography.
Man, the list of movies that we could possibly be watching next episode is exciting to me. There's probably one that I regret on here. Not that I don't want to watch it, but I've seen it lots. But then again, it's been many, many years.
Cabin Fever.
Evil Dead 2. I've seen it so many times, but I think
I regret Cabin Fever.
I did. Well, you know what?
I'm not an Eli Roth fan,
and that's fine. That's fine. I was hoping we'd have a guest here and maybe introduce it to somebody else, but you know, we got our listeners, so maybe I can influence them. So The Cell. So now moving on, I got to make a pick, and I've got a couple here. God, I got one here. I don't even fucking remember what it was about. It says I watched it. Let me see. What do I really want to talk about? Okay, I think this is one that we definitely did not mention it as one we couldn't talk about. And it's one I want to talk about. But then it comes to the question of watching it again.
Spit it out, motherfucker.
All right, fine. The Thing.
Well, we just watched that recently.
We did just fucking watch that recently. This is what I'm saying. So, all right. So, yeah.
And there's reimaginings. We can watch a different version of it. There's
I don't
want
to. No, it's got to be the one.
Yeah, it's got
to be the one. Okay, so this is a fun one. This is one that didn't show up on a lot of lists. It was one that was on Tubi and just looked interesting.
Yeah.
And after watching it, I actually believe I watched it before we had Chris on, and it was one that I was like, after watching many and understanding the rules, I was like, this one should qualify. This is one called Blue Sunshine, and I believe it's from the 70s. Blue Sunshine. So Blue Sunshine is
Blue Velvet. Oh, I'm slutty. Oh, I'm slutty. Dennis Hopper. Yeah.
Got me almost typing in Blue Velvet over here.
Fuck that shit.
1977.
Pabst Blue Ribbon.
So Blue Sunshine is it takes place where
Blue Valentine was
California.
Ryan Gosling. Blue Valentine. That was good.
Not a body horror.
No.
So Blue Sunshine.
Blue Sunshine.
Blue Sunshine. The movie opens with a series of murders, and you see people doing things unexplainable. So the people that are carrying out the murders, you see carry them out, and it doesn't nothing.
You know who's guilty. There's no mystery.
Right. But something always happens to the killer.
Oh, pardon me. That felt delightful.
Then you cut to a group of young adults partying. And they're
obviously going to die because you never party
in the scary movies.
Yeah.
So this is a thriller of sorts at the start, and then it gets wonky wild, although slowly, because I think the body horror begins almost right away.
Yeah.
But so then we. My story summation pitch real quick. So there was the random killings, and you get to this youthful group of young professionals. You learn they're like 10 years out of college and whatever. And then one of them goes berserk bonkers and starts doing some killing. And that brings us to our protagonist, who escapes that and is now like, why did this guy go bonkers berserk? And he becomes our lead investigator through the thing.
Sure.
And what we learn is that Blue Sunshine was a I don't know if you call it a strain or not, but it was a drug that was being passed around back in '67 when all of these people were in college together, and it's this
like in Woodstock when don't eat the brown acid. The brown acid,
this belated reaction that their bodies have to it, and I don't want to spoil it anymore because it was actually really fun. It's weird. Okay, it's not a perfect 10, but it's coming from the 70s, late 70s as it was.
They actually make fun of that in Wayne's World too.
Make fun of what?
Don't eat the red rope licorice.
Oh,
the red rope licorice has gone bad.
So it follows this guy exploring and uncovering, so you learn along with him. But it's incredibly fascinating because it's a different approach. 77, the horror movies were still coming into the tropes were just
they
being
were either
created,
balls to the wall and became the staple, or they were trying to appease the money and not going far enough.
I don't know if I fairly enough described where the body horror comes in, but obviously some of the latent reactions that the body has to it causes some
mutations,
physical mutations. Yeah.
Okay.
And so Blue Sunshine, I had never heard of it.
No,
I'd come across it by accident on Tubi because Tubi's got a fabulous array.
Why wasn't that on our list last night when we played with Matt?
I would have forgotten about it. Yeah. I mean, this list has been in my pocket for months now. So
sure. Yeah, right on. Yeah. Yep.
That is my pick for.
Copy that.
That's my last pick.
So I'm torn, kind of, because as you know, we build our lists to incorporate in case somebody names one of, and you have not mentioned any of the ones on any of my lists. And I believe I have not named
yet.
any of the ones.
No, we have not crossed it all.
Usually we mention that, but I have a list of 12 movies here, and obviously we're going to mention them all at some point. So I have to do this one. This has to be the number one, and we don't normally do this numbering, but this has to be.
This is the favorite for you.
7.
Okay. Okay.
He mutilates these people.
He does.
And
for lack of better words, he makes art of the body.
Right. And how is that not body horror?
Yeah.
And it's such it's a masterpiece.
Yeah.
David Fincher, right? Brad Pitt.
Morgan Freeman,
Gwyneth Paltrow, Kevin Spacey.
Mm-hmm. And probably one of my favorite performances that he's ever given.
The best villain ever, right? Until the guy from Tusk. Let me tell you, watch that one. But still on a different level. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, just so good. I quote that all the time. Like, especially you can't just politely tap someone on the shoulder anymore. You have to hit them in the head with a sledgehammer, and then you'll see you have their strict attention.
You get my attention.
There's so many quotable lines, and not just from Kevin Spacey, from every character.
Yeah. It's a brilliant script.
Yeah. Just
what you looking
amazing. I'm checking to make sure I was right that it's David Fincher.
Oh yeah, no, 100% it's David Fincher.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, 100% David Fincher.
I was like 97, and
no, I'm 100% that's David Fincher.
I mean, I am too, but there was when I said it, I was like, what? No, of course it is. It's just such a beautiful movie. But yeah, there's all sorts, like he poisons them. It's based on Dante's Inferno. There's just so much beautiful things about that movie.
Yeah, I wouldn't have considered that one, but I take your argument, and I agree.
Like the guy in the bed with the photos, and
how is that much different than House of Wax or even Tusk as far as
right? That's what I'm saying. Like the guy in the bed alone. Mm-hmm. And then you do the not gluttony, but pound of flesh, right?
Right. Right.
That's about it. And gluttony too, and then the vanity, right?
Carved her up.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Made her choose.
Yeah. Interesting. So the final 10 recommendations for body horrors from us here at the Unorthodox Film Podcast are as follows. Evil Dead 2, House of Wax, Lucy, Final Cut, From Beyond, Tusk, Cabin Fever, The Cell, Blue Sunshine, and Seven. So this is our 10-sided. Nope. Did I see an 11? Yep, that's the 10-sided. So give us a roll there. I'm not going to do the random and then random because the fucking die is the random. So yeah. I'm not going to overcomplicate it. 3 is Lucy. How do you feel about that?
I love that movie.
Should we introduce some sort of reroll mechanic?
I love that movie, but I've seen it recently because I love it.
I saw it right. So within the year, because of it was, I watched it like right around the time we were considering this episode specifically.
Well, within the year, I mean, but I've watched it within the last 3 months. So like
for safety's sake, let's roll it. I think that one it fell off the table.
I'm gonna give it another go. 11. That's a 12-sided die.
That is a 12-sided. Do I have two 12-sided dies?
Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to roll both of them.
Oh.
4 and 5.
Okay, so are you going to pick... I see what the answers are, so you got to pick one of those.
What's 9?
Blue Sunshine.
What's 5?
Now, see, now... Okay. I fucked up with the two 12-sided.
You roll one. Roll one.
Okay.
Is that an 8 or 3?
That's an 8. I tried cleaning it off before we rolled, but it's an 8. Yeah. That one definitely rolled off the table. So, I mean, is there one that you want to see? At this point, we'll just eliminate all of them. There's no 12.
I think 4's come up twice.
4's come up twice. You going with 4? That's Final Cut.
That's the one I wanted.
Okay, there we go. So in our next episode, we are going to give a fresh watch of Robin Williams in Final Cut. You said that was 2003-ish, 2001? Somewhere in the early noughts.
Final Cut was 2004.
2004. I wasn't.
Yes.
It's 3 plus the 1 is 4. That's what I was going for. I remembered something there.
What's funny is that it was number 4 and it's 2004. And it's it's amazing. And I have not seen that in a while.
We have a list here.
I bought it at the $5 bin. I own it. It's somewhere
Joseph,
in the house.
Where do we go? So episode ideas here. So for our next, you want to roll? Let me see. Who do I have here?
No, before we do that, let's do our honorable mentions
10,
real
11,
quick.
12, 13, 14. Okay.
The ones that were
I'm with that.
Good enough for the list but didn't make the cut. So Repo, the genetic rock opera.
So, oh God, I want to see that movie so bad. I've seen it in the sense that I was in the room while it was on.
Yeah, you've just never paid attention to it. We're always talking while we watch movies.
Correct.
Yeah, and we get into some deep philosophical discussions sometimes. Regardless, I mean, this one is very close to my wife's heart, and in such, I've seen it so much, and it's great. But again, it's flawless. Paris Hilton. So there's that.
Okay.
But it was very Indian in the sense, like the guy who plays the gravedigger, it was he wrote all the music, all the lyrics, the whole thing. Like it was his.
I don't know who plays the gravedigger, but the guy who wrote and directed it was
Grave Robber.
Darren Lynn Bousman, and his first feature was Saw 2, which was not a Saw movie when he pitched it.
Right.
But the studio was like, if you make this Saw 2, we'll produce it for you, and he got to direct that. So then he went on to do,
Right, but the Repo, the guy who did the story of it, like
right.
the writer.
Let me make sure I'm not misspeaking on that as well, but I'm pretty sure.
Okay, and then, for me, the first thing I thought when I heard body horror was Waxworks and Waxworks 2, especially.
So I watched that. Because you had mentioned it.
I felt that was a quitessential almost.
There is no body horror in that whatsoever.
Really?
None whatsoever. No.
Well, I'm good. I'm glad I didn't put it on my list. I haven't watched it since I was in high school.
No, and I was like, man, that does, because I read but no, go ahead. I'm glad you played House of Wax instead.
Yeah. And Idle Hands, I thought, but there's very little. That
qualifies.
It qualified, yeah.
It was one of the ones I was going to watch because it was mentioned a lot.
And it's just such a good
And it's one I still haven't seen.
It's such a good pop culture romp.
Yeah.
You know, it really is. And then Cannibal Corpse.
Cannibal Corpse.
Cannibal Corpse had Cradle of Filth.
Those are bands.
They have films that they've made with their name.
Interesting.
Especially Cradle of Filth. And it's just, I guess it's just a lot of mutilation.
Interesting.
It's disgusting.
I'll have to look into that.
It's art, though, you know. House of a Thousand Corpses. Rob Zombie's debut.
Yeah.
Film debut. Because he literally stuffs, like, does taxidermy.
You're talking about Dr. Satan.
Yeah. Well, not even Dr. Satan, just the Otis character. Remember, he made Rainn Wilson's character into Fish Boy and all this other, like, he had these weird trophies all over the place.
That's one I've not seen in a while. Those are details that I have since forgotten.
Yeah, but then they go underground and Dr. Satan, there's all these weird
the doctor, it gets super crazy, and that's another third act situation where it's like it just goes pew.
But in the second act, you do get some body horror.
So ones that
totally
that I considered
in the third act, but
ones that I considered Slither came up a lot, but I didn't remember enough about it to even try and talk about it without rewatching it. So since I was if I had to rewatch it, I'd rather watch one that I hadn't watched before at all.
Right.
The Fly, David Cronenberg's Fly. I think that was the one that Chris had mentioned as like a quintessential. I want to make sure we do mention it
Jeff Goldblum.
Because I've seen it recently in the last year for the very first time. I felt weird about playing it because I had watched it right before Chris had suggested the topic to us, but it was so close that I was like, oh man, and it just feels like the one like everyone talks about. But
Davis is so young and beautiful.
I genuinely avoided the movie because I was like, it's called The Fly. That's got to be stupid. It's such a dude. Her performance in that, her and Goldblum were
it's an amazing
chef's kiss.
With that small ass cast too, you know, the chamber piece almost, right?
Another Cronenberg I wanted to watch.
Sorry, I'm laughing at myself again.
Was The Brood. The Brood was very entertaining.
Okay. I've heard of The Brood.
The Brood. But here's the thing. I've watched it within the last several months. Off the top of my head, I wouldn't be able to tell you what it's about. The Brood itself is... okay, no, I can. There's a woman...
The Mist?
There's a woman... So there's a father and his daughter. And he goes and visits his wife, the daughter's mother, in a hospital situation, which is run by ultimately a weird fucking doctor. And there are these things in like popping up places, killing people, and like they create
goblins,
small shadows. Yeah, and then you find out. I don't want to spoil the whole thing, but you find out that there's a relation to the woman and these things. Yes, and that's where the body horror comes in because these things are deformed looking. They're not quite human, but I don't know that I can quite explain what they are.
Castle Freak.
Dude, I totally thought you were going to mention Castle Freak.
I already have them.
Yeah, that is true. But yeah, so The Brood was another one. And then there was some that crossed the border for me. This was a new one, but I was like, okay, I think this one's definitely got to be body horror. And that was Jennifer's Body, which I did end up ultimately really enjoying. But I couldn't remember if she was another entity as too. I'd never seen it before. I did. I enjoyed it. It's funny. It's tongue in cheek. Like it doesn't take itself seriously.
It's worth a watch.
And I think that's why I avoided it because I was like, oh, it's a stupid fucking slutty.
Right.
But it's not.
Not. It is, but it has its worth.
I think it has
its merits.
I think it has a more and sophisticated approach than the marketing led it to be.
I will give you that. What Megan Fox was known for was showing her ass, and
but she put on a really good performance.
She did.
So Jennifer's Body was one, and then another one that I was actually going to mention, but I lost count when I put Blue Sunshine down, so I should have put this one down instead. But I'm glad I did put Blue Sunshine down.
We might as well just go out there and say that Megan Fox does great as long as Michael Bay's not involved, because then it's just her ass.
I think she's probably a really good actress, because I enjoyed her in New Girl.
But when Michael Bay's involved, she's just exploited. So,
but the last one here that I want to mention was The Astronaut's Wife.
Nice. Yeah. I've only seen that the one time, but I did enjoy it.
So do you recall?
Not a lot of it.
And so I don't remember if I watched it because I thought this would be, or if it just came up and I really enjoyed it, and I hadn't seen it in a decade or so. Yeah. So I put it on, and Johnny Depp is an astronaut. He goes to space. When he comes back, him and his loving wife, which is established before he goes into space, they come back. He's weird. And ultimately, things changed. Something happened to him when he was, and that's where the body horror comes in because it's aliens. Yeah, I mean it's clear. It's clear from the beginning. So I don't think I'm really ruining anything.
No,
but it's a paranoia story because it's like Rosemary's Baby with her. Like, is it real? Is it not?
It builds,
and that's it. He impregnates her. So if the body horror didn't come from his thing,
then
this alien essentially raping her and then like putting.
I always hear people saying, I can't remember those Johnny Depp movie I enjoy. Have you really watched
dude, I would be absolutely down. I would be absolutely down with a Johnny Depp recommendation list.
Yeah,
and
there's so
not
many
talking
roles
about
he does that
the
go
8 million pirate movies.
Celebrated. Like, people are like, he just like they only
there are movies that I need to re-see
or Pirates of the Caribbean.
He was so good before that.
But yeah, Crybaby. I mean, if you like John Waters, then it's a beautiful movie.
But that's a good segue because now we got to talk about what we're going to talk about on our next episode. So we did kind of some free spirit thinking and put some recommendations down. I have 14 of them here. You want to give it a roll? So you want to roll 2 just in case to get to 14? Figure out them?
Sure.
See how that plays? 16. That's too many, so we can go 12 if you want. 6. Gonna go with 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think you'll like this one. Exploring Space.
Exploring Space. I like it a lot because it's nothing we've done.
Right.
And I've already thought of 3 examples.
Okay, so let's set out the rules here. Let's talk a little bit about.
Yeah, we have to have.
So is this not? Is this? This is not. Let me see. It's got to take place in space, then, right? It's not. Or we talk about a movie that can start at the beginning and go up into space. Like, what's the?
It has to involve people in outer space in some facet.
Okay. What would you not want to consider? Do alien type movies? Do war movies? Like where's the? Yeah,
because there's really a lot.
Do we want to keep this to science fiction or the expressed interest of the characters exploring space? As opposed to something like I'll say Star Wars, where space isn't really explored because it's inhabited, it's like a fully functioning.
Or like Super Troopers because it's an ongoing war and they're
already aware of space.
Astronauts, they're not space explorers.
Right.
So space exploration.
Right. So
not Zathura because they just happen to be floating in space because of the game. Because they're not astronauts. Right. Although the one character is an astronaut, but I mean, that's basically Jumanji-esque. A great movie, but I don't think it would qualify.
Okay.
Right. And that's one I thought of immediately that could be mentioned, but I don't think I'd want to be mentioned, even though it's a great movie.
Fiction and nonfiction based?
I think science fiction.
Yeah.
Which is fiction. like we're not doing Apollo 13.
Okay, so that's the one I was dancing around.
Right, yeah. Okay. We're not doing real life dramatized esque biopics.
Okay.
We're not going to do Hidden Figures.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay. Right. Okay. I'm excited about this one.
Yeah.
So we're going to be watching, what did we land on? Final Cut.
I think our quintessential that we can't mention, but we can talk about on the episode a little bit, 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Perfect.
Because we're both going to want to talk about that, but we can't let that be on none of our lists.
And that's science fiction because of the AI and because of the actual nature of what's going on. However,
space exploration. They are astronauts. They're on a mission. Yeah.
Okay. So real quick, and I'm likely not going to play this one anyways because there's already more that I can think of. So that's why I feel comfortable saying it.
Yeah.
Why would Alien not qualify?
Because, as you said, space isn't the final frontier. right? They're out on like a mining operation.
Right.
This is
There we
same
go.
as Super Troopers.
There we
right?
go. Just for that,
Oh,
that
yeah. No.
clarification
100%.
out there.
Because eventually those are going to have to be on a list. Because those are great movies. All right.
So I'm making notes here. Why don't you sign us out, Joe?
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Unorthodox Film Podcast. Please look up our other show that we do in congruent to this called #SetLife.
It's now called #SetLife.
Yeah.
We've landed on a name, everybody.
Yeah, we finally landed on a name.
And that's where we talks amongst ourselves, or when we have guests, talks amongst them about what we do and what they do on set and in our career lives working in the film industry. And
we talk about laughs, we talk about hardships, we talk about what we've learned.
Yeah, kind of exploring. You know, we're early on in our careers, and this has been a lifelong passion of ours. So we're just kind of discussing things and learning things from our peers, and hopefully, enlightening our listeners to be able to take the step forward if they wanted to, or if they just enjoy movies and enjoy what's going on. We can kind of offer our perspective of what happens on set.
Right, and if you're not learning and growing, you're getting busy dying. So
right.
We'll talk to you next time.
No. Yeah. Sorry, what I would really want to do, you go piss, but I just want to invite everybody to tell us what body horror movies you would have recommended and what we should watch. If there was something that we didn't bring up in our discussion tonight that you really think that we should be enlightened about, or you want to enlighten our other listeners to, let us know. So you can get a hold of us at... You can get a hold of me at Beeford Clark on Instagram, and Joseph is at Chaotic Artisan. Is there an underscore?
Yeah.
Chaotic_artisan, also on Instagram. So we will see you next time when we will be discussing Robin Williams in Final Cut, and then making our recommendations for exploring space. Thank you, everybody, and we will talk to you next time.